Welcome to the Flux Dev Meeting.
Hey, Happy New Year. I hope everybody is refreshed after the winter vacation. I'm definitely am refreshed. I took like 6 days off internet, which was good. Um, so some news, some announcements. We have published a roadmap for 2026 with 3 milestones. And the next Flux release is scheduled for end of February. That should come with Helm or V4 upgrade as one of the things that we are doing. Lots of improvements to Source Watcher artifact generator. I'm very happy to see more and more people are adopting artifact generator for huge monorepos, and it works nice. We now have two things still to do for Source Watcher. We want Source Watcher to be able to issue events to notification controller. This is a major downside of it since we released it. The thing is, let's say you have some path wrong or so on, and the artifact build will fail. There is no way for you to get notified on that. You need to actually do Flux get or look at Kubernetes events or something like that. So this is a major to do for before the 2.8 release. And another thing we have in flight for artifact generator, and we have a pull request for it. We'll need to merge it soon, is the possibility of shipping Flux artifacts outside of OCI repos. As you may know, Flux, the CLI, has a push command, right, that packages content and pushes to the OCI registry. But there is also a build command which creates artifact local, tarball on your local file system. Now, we define gitless gitops as a way of working with Flux without Git, and we showcase this how you can do this stuff with OCI repos. But there is definitely possible to do it with buckets as well. You can do a Flux build, get the artifact, and you can push that artifact to a bucket. Now, the problem is that tarball which sits there, OCI repo cannot understand it. You need a bucket object, and the bucket object will just take these tarballs from upstream and it will package them in another tarball, which is the Flux internal artifact. So our solution for this is having an extract function in the artifact generator where you can say, oh, extract the tarball from this location into the external artifact. And that will make possible, doing gitless GitHub stuff with artifacts not stored in a container registry, but stored in a bucket or other things. Also, this also solves another issue that people struggled with a lot, is using an S3 bucket as a storage for Helm charts. And you don't want to have on top an HTTP repo, a Helm HTTP repo, so you don't want to have a web server that serves that from the bucket. You want to connect Flux directly to the bucket. And the major problem with this is that if you use a bucket definition, what Flux will do is it will download all the charts versions from all the apps that you have in that bucket, even if you only want to target a single application, right? Now, there is a way to do this with artifact generator where you can use server-side filtering in the bucket. You will point source controller to a path, let's say charts slash the name of your app. And then in the artifact generator, you can pick a particular chart tarball and package that for Helm controller. And that will um, improve a lot the traffic and everything that happens inside the cluster. So these are the two use cases we are trying to solve with artifact generator. A pull request is already opened. There is a discussion there around wildcards and so on, but this feature where you can point it to a particular tarball is already implemented, and that will definitely go into the next Flux version. Now, Mateus, can you say a few words around how is going on with Helm and what is our plan for the Helm upgrade?
Sure. So I we have already merged the upgrade in the package repo, which was tiny, really small, just type names and import paths have changed, no behavior change. And I'm now working on source controller. I have a PR ready, which I'm testing now. So I have already tested it with in a cluster with 18 Helm releases all from OCI repo. So that's just to check if nothing breaks catastrophically because OCI repo does not touch the code that is being updated. What really needs to be tested here is what I'm doing right now is testing with Helm repository and Helm chart APIs. So I have already tested with an HTTPS Helm repo here and there. I also tested with Helm release that references a Git repo in the chart template, also works. And now I just vendored the Prometheus stack chart, which is an umbrella chart for a bunch of other charts. And I'm testing right now Helm release that references this vendored chart from Git. And I will also test it with not vendored, but pushed to an HTTPS repo as well. And I
Yeah, so
guess that will be a good
I think
test.
there are three major use cases here. One, you have the chart source code in Git, and it's just that. So source controller, it will package the chart using the SDK,
I already tested. Works.
and historically that had all sorts of issues. And if that works, is great. Then you have the chart source code in Git, and um, it's an umbrella chart and has the other charts are also in Git with um, passed in the dependency to other directories there, right? And the
Right,
third
yeah.
case,
So for example, what I'm doing right now, I pulled the Kubernetes stack chart from OCI and I'm vendoring it in Git. In this case, it will have all the subcharts vendored as well, right? Because if I'm not mistaken,
yeah,
OCI,
all of
when you package a chart into OCI, that is an umbrella chart, it vendors all of the subcharts in the artifact, right?
yes,
Yeah, I
but
see them here.
yeah, and the third case is you have the umbrella chart in Git, and the subcharts are referenced from the Helm repositories. You
Cool.
have the Helm repositories defined in Flux. Source controller should be able to fetch them and do the build in cluster.
I don't think we have them in Flux in this case, right? Like we reference them from the top level chart, and if and like in Git, for example, and then when I reference the when I in the Helm release, when I Git repo that has a top level chart, like source controller will resolve the remote dependencies, right?
Yes, and it should, if I'm not mistaken, and I think we did this like many years ago. Let's say you have the subchart is in a private HTTP repo that needs authentication. Source control will look up if that's defined and it will connect to it to fetch it. What we
Cool.
know for sure it doesn't work, I think it doesn't work. So yeah, there is one case when it will not work. It will not work if you have mix of dependencies, OCI and HTTP dependencies, and we decided to not support that. Right, so that use case we don't care. Like if you use OCI, you should not use charts in Git. You should go full OCI. But you can have charts in Git with HTTP repos. So that also should be tested to
Cool.
see if MV4 breaks any of that stuff, right? Because it's the SDK that actually extracts the dependencies and presents it to source control. We don't parse the chart YAML with the dependencies on our own. We use the SDK to tell us these are all the dependencies, and we we run a fetch
Yeah.
for each one, right? So if something, you know, the parser is not working as expected, or if there is a breaking change there, that could impact a lot of people that are doing these umbrella charts. A mix of the umbrella chart is in Git, all the other dependencies are on HTTP repos. Um,
Right. Yeah, I
right.
expect to finish testing all of that today. And the pull request in source controller is upgrading is similar to the package one where I'm mostly updating import paths and type names, but there's a breaking that hack that we had for like that we write an empty Docker config creds file that is now uh like the Horus library that Helm uses now rejects that instead of using it to write the like we have that file because the library would write the creds in that file and then we would delete it at the end of the reconciliation. Now, instead of using that empty file to write the credentials there, it actually tries to read it and see that there's nothing in there. It's an empty file and the result. So the fix is removing that ugly code. Yay.
Great. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I did that. This is the second commit in the
Also
pull
for
request.
TLS. Also
Yes.
for TLS.
So I have four commits in the PR. Upgrade, remove Docker file, and the third one is replacing the files that we read the secret with TLS, write to files, pass the files to Helm. That's no longer needed as well. I landed functionality in Helm for passing the TLS object, tls.config from Go. So I replaced all of that code as well with this. And fourth commit, unrelated, like my IDE just showed some unused functions and arguments, and I deleted them.
Oh, also please bump Git in that pull request. in source controller.
Package Git.
Yeah, and you so Go Git now can be simply deleted from Go mode, and that's it.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
need to change anything. Imports are the same. It's really easy, and we got rid of having to Git packages all the time.
Cool, cool.
Um,
Will do.
what about Helm controller? Do
Yeah,
we?
so just to wrap up, this PR in source controller is not changing any behavior, right? So once I test it in all these cases, we can merge it, and at least with Helm 4, it works seamlessly. And then the real work comes in Helm controller. Helm controller, I don't really know what to expect. I haven't tried bumping Helm there yet. The all I did so far was related to chart API. So at least it helped, changing this fast for source controller, but I don't have a clue what to expect in terms of the actions SDKs. But I'll bump it there
No, no.
and see
Action
what
SDKs
happens.
should be compatible. What I definitely know is that they changed the JSON number type, and they did that in version 3, then they reverted. So I went through all the what it takes to upgrade is like because our values uh, object will break that. All the tests will break, right? Because now there is support for float, and before it wasn't. Float was downgraded to long or to decimal. So that's quite an impactful change because now the number type uh, gets deserialized in a different type in Go, right? Before it would get decimal, now it's float. So expect all the tests to fail around merging values. And that's the reason. You just have to do this conversion. I mean, make Helm controller aware that the type has changed, then also change all the tests where they test for decimal to float, and that's it. So that's definitely going to break if they. I know they reverted from version 3, and they said this support will get into V4. So that you should definitely expect failures there. I don't think the actions should have any breaking changes because they said they are backwards compatible. Um, You'll probably change with chart v3, but for the current API version of the chart, they should be identical.
Yeah.
There is another thing. We have this in package. We have this chart to till package that deals with merging values. And I looked at last month. I look at Helm v4 code for merging values because I implemented merging values in SourceWatcher. Uh, and they improved the logic there around merging values and how this gets merged. Now we have some vendor code from Helm v3 into the chart utils, so you should definitely look at that. Search for the merging procedure in v4 source code and compare with what we have there, right? Because um, I think they iterate twice now over maps. The thing is, we can't afford for running Helm upgrade minus minus values this file, minus minus values this other file to act differently from values from this config map, this config map. The way we merge values has to be identical to how Helm the CLI merges values. Any discrepancy here, it would be a disaster because then we are no longer compatible with how Helm does it. So, and we don't have that code in Helm controller. Is moved to package because you have the Flux CLI command, Flux debug and release, show values that does the merging of values also in the CLI. So the code now is shared in package, and you really need to look into it and see if it's a one-on-one match. It's definitely not. So you will probably have to figure out what the changes are and I don't know, copy that little function from Helm v4 in there or change a little bit our own function. But that's one of the things that I'm really scared about, like diverging from values merge between Flux and Helm.
Cool. We do. Yeah, so I expect ideally the Actions SDK won't have many breaking changes. I know I have to look into this that you just mentioned. Also, server side apply and case status and see uh, what's happening there in terms of these two things, like if it's the default or not, if it's opting, and figure out what to do um, in the Helm release API to allow both behaviors. Ideally, we, as a GA API, maintain the Helm tree behavior and make these things opt in somehow.
Um, yeah, so there are two things about case status. We definitely need a way for people to enable it, and it will be really great if we can have the cell custom health checks in there, right? And that will mean contributing something to Helm that exposes in the SDK the custom readers. So we can inject custom readers in the same way we do for customized controller.
Right.
Because, yeah, sure, Helm now has case status, but it will not be able to wait after, I don't know, a cross-plane object or a cluster API object, or most things will not be able to wait for them because it's that race condition where the custom resource gets created without a status. If the controller is busy and Helm does case status check this one, case status say, oh, all good. It has no status, then it's probably ready. Right? And couple of milliseconds later, status is there, ready is false, and Helm will say, yes, it's all good, right? So um, this is something for not for Flux 2.8, but for 2.9, where we should figure out a way with the Helm team how to expose this in the SDK so we can have the injection of custom readers in the same way we do in customized control, right? We already figured this out, how to add this to the case status um, procedure.
Yeah. There's also the inventory feature, right? We also probably need a contribution upstream to implement that.
No,
We'll see about
we
that.
don't. We don't because we reflect the storage in Helm controller. We do a reflection of the Helm storage. So every time we to do this atomic upgrade, atomic install, what we do, we fire an action. When the action finishes, we don't trust the action result. We actually go and look in the storage. We also
We
snapshot
open
the
up the
storage.
storage?
And we add it to the history. Those checksums in there are the checksums from the storage,
Well,
right?
could be an
So
optimization if we had functionality upstream.
the problem is that if you ask the action will not give you namespaces. So it's not enough for the
Yeah,
inventory.
yeah, that same old story, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I would just look into adding the inventory composition to the part of the code that does storage reflection and not get this into the SDK if we can do it that way.
But
There is
so I
another
think
thing here. One
that so
second.
this seems like a okay.
The storage is not enough. It does not hold the whole inventory. If you have CRD upgrade enabled, so if you use the CRDs directory in Helm, the CRDs don't end up in the storage. So by just looking at storage, you don't have the full picture of what is Helm controller doing, managing from here, right? So no matter if the action gives us the inventory back or not, it's still not enough. We still have to do our own logic, right? And we apply the CRDs, so we definitely have them. You can easily append them to the inventory, right? But that's one major thing that is not in Helm and we have in Flux. So the inventory should reflect any CRD that Flux had installed or upgraded.
We discussed this before. Isn't I thought we already had somewhere in status where we released the CRDs?
No,
Hmm.
no, we don't. That's why in the CLI, when you do trace, it's so expensive because you need to get all CRDs, buy label selector, parse them. No,
Yeah.
CRDs are not tracked anywhere, so we really need to put them
So,
in the inventory.
but don't you think it would be probably a good optimization if Helm gave us the list of objects, including CRDs? And because
How can they give us including CRDs if they skip them?
uh, or no, okay, so without CRDs, don't we like because we have to open the storage, decompress, and do the thing about namespaces. Maybe they do that already. They don't like they maybe they already know the objects that are being applied if it's global or namespace scoped, and then we make Helm controller faster.
I am quite sure we already unpacked the storage to calculate all the stuff.
Yeah, then we can eliminate that code, make Helm controller faster if the
No, we
functionality
can't.
existed.
No, because Helm controller looks at the storage to ensure the upgrade is atomic. It has nothing to do with invented.
Hmm. What does that mean, like ensuring the atomicity?
If so, the thing is, this is the third state, right? And it can drift from what's actually happening. Has memory leaks, has race conditions. You can't trust what an action gives you back. You need to actually figure out what was stored in the storage. Like the action will tell you, yes, upgrade. You look at the storage, there are missing objects. And the storage is the actual truth because there's the thing you should, uh, there's the thing we use for drift detection and so on. Also, the storage gets locked, and if something breaks, you need to pick in the storage, unlock it. Otherwise, everything is stuck and so on. Right? Even if the action says it's okay, the storage can be locked.
Okay.
Yeah, but we really want to ship inventory in 2.8. So I'm not for trying to get this into the SDK if we can do it in Helm controller.
Yeah.
We can get it
About
later on, right? You can implement it by looking at the storage and then for Helm 4.2, try to get that in there.
We will need the upstream functionality anyway for the other thing we were talking about before inventory, right? What was it?
What do you mean? What other
We
functionality?
we were talking about something else right before inventory.
Case status, custom
Case
readers.
status. Yeah, custom readers. Yeah.
And that should be way easier than getting the inventory out.
Yeah, true. But in any case, it has to like it have to work on it yesterday because if it has to land Helm for Flux to update.
No, not the
Mhm.
custom readers. So the custom readers 2.9, we have 6 months to get it in.
Mm.
Inventory is something that we would really want in 2.8.
Okay,
Right.
cool. Also, we can do MTTR. The functionality is there.
Is there? Awesome. Awesome,
All
yeah.
right.
So NTTR was merged in customized controller, right?
Yes, it will be a bright release for a Helm controller. Flux to that date.
Yeah, canceling Helm upgrades is awesome. No, no more waiting for 1 hour. I did a typo. Let's wait 1 hour for it to fail.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
really good.
Okay, anything else to discuss? Oh, almost forgot. Lee, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
So, can you please take over the cosine upgrade in source controller?
Yeah, I can take a look at that.
Um, cool. Can you spend all your time on this? Or
Yes.
99.99%? It's really critical for Flux to the date. Like we can't release without it. People have
Okay.
already upgraded cosine, and yeah, telling people to disable the verification is the last thing we want. So this has become as urgent as Helm upgrade.
Okay.
Um, Everything can be done in source control, right? Mateus, there is no share package for cosine.
Yeah, no shared package,
Yeah.
just source controller.
So last time Mateus tried Lee to get some context. He upgraded cosine. The old signatures worked. The new signatures didn't. So there are also breaking changes in the way the verification API works, right? It can't verify new signatures. Probably you need to figure out what other fields it needs and so on. But our goal is with this, we upgrade to cosine v3 and both signatures should work the same way as the cosine CLI does it. So with the cosine CLI, you can verify old signatures, all formats, new signatures, new formats. We need to keep the same stuff in source controller. We can't tell people, oh, we've upgraded to cosine, now you need to resign everything, right? It's like it should work with both. And the fact that the CLI can do it, it's a sign that the SDK has all the things needed. You just need to figure out how to enable both signature formats.
Sure. Yeah. Um, and we're expecting that I should only need to make changes to this in source controller and flux operator.
No, only source controller.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna ask about image refactor controller, but it's not something we need to fix so urgently. The fact that we no longer can filter the signatures by the suffix. Is there anything we can do at all, actually? I don't know.
So did we verify that that because they shouldn't be tags, they should just be blobs, right? So it shouldn't be muddying up the tag list. Maybe we had a build of cosine and they updated something. When I talked with John um, from the In Total project
Oh
about
yeah,
this,
yeah, you told me this, right? So it's not because in cosine 2 they're supposed to be tags, but that's not the case in cosine 3, right? They're not supposed to be tags anymore.
yeah, I believe it uses the referrers API. So hopefully it shouldn't be muddying up the tag list, but if it is, then we do have a little bit of a problem there. Yeah.
Well, it's easy to test, right? Right, run crane ls on a repo that has both signatures, and you should not get the new ones, only the .sig old ones, which were definitely tags.
Yeah.
If ls brings shards, then they are definitely tags. It's really easy to
Yeah,
test.
actually, it's like just have a repo in GHCR or something with a single tag of an image or whatever, and sign that, and see if a new tag appears, right?
Yeah, yeah, we can. We definitely need a test repo that has a mix of things. Like you install cosine v2, you sign it with that. Install the latest cosine, you sign it with that, and then have
There
OCI
should be
repo.
only one signature tag from V2.
Yeah, no, I mean we in order to test this like outside unit testing, you actually need to create a clone pod info or something and have old. We need tags signed with cosine v2, all signatures. We need tags, new tags signed with the new version. You point OCI repo to the old tag. It should verify it with the uh, all the schema of the signature. Then you update the same OCI repo, you point it to the new tag, which is signed with the new procedure, and it should also verify that, right? Because that's what will all our users will go through, right? After 2.8, we are going to tell people, yes, now you can unlock cosine and use the latest, so they'll switch from old versions to the new versions, but they can always, pin back. It should verify the old version and so on. I'll also switch pod info. If you figure it out how to work with both, I will do a pod info release with the new version of cosine with new signatures. So we can actually add also this to the source controller end-to-end test. So source controller has an end-to-end test that verifies pod info signatures now with GitHub OEDC. For obvious reasons, we can't just trust unit tests on this. We actually need to use a container registry and see if everything works. And I'm going to unpin cosine in podinfo dual release. So we have this use case where you have a mix of both type of signatures, but before that, you should do your own testing while you develop this in source controller.
Yeah, that test plan sounds reasonable to me. It's making sense.
Yeah.
I'll go take a look at the CLI implementation, how they use the SDK for the multi version format support, and then see how we implement that in source controller. We'll make sure that all of the happy and sad cases fail and succeed as they should. And then hopefully the image reflector controller thing is not a problem. So
Well, even if we get more tags, they will never match assembler. Because if the tag is a huge SHA with SHA by with the SHA 2.5, 2 points and so on, right? And it's this huge stuff. It will never match assembler. So
I think the problem is that the server filtering is on the image policy API, and the image policy reads the storage and applies the
oh yeah, of
filtering
course, you'll get more data
in
than
this, yeah,
required, right?
in the storage,
What,
yeah.
yeah, what we did in image repository controller, we've built in on optimization and say we never store the signatures because we no one will ever want a policy to match a signature. You want a policy to match a actual version, like assembler version. Now, let's say if this thing no longer works, it will be the database will grow in size because we'll store for every assembler, we'll also store another tag, which is the signature. And when you iterate over them to do the assembler matching, of course, it will take longer because now you have double the size of the array. But nothing bad will happen. Like it's it's not
Yeah,
possible for a digest to match
yeah.
assembler.
It's not a bug,
So
right? It's
yeah,
more
yeah,
resource
it will not
usage,
break
storage,
people's setup. Just image reflector will use more network and more resources. The bolt
and more
DB,
storage, more
yeah, more
CPU,
storage and so on.
memory.
Yeah. Yeah. But if they are not tags and Crane LS does not list them, then we are out, we are good because what image reflector and source controller are doing is the same code that Crane LS does. Is exactly the same. If Crane LS does not return them, we are all good. We don't have this issue and everything is fine. Okay, so Lee, by next week when we meet here again, we'll probably have more. We'll have these answers for us. Are there tags, aren't, and
Yeah,
how it works.
I'll take a look and get this implemented. Cool.
So, thank you. Okay, we are at time. See you next week.
All right.
Bye.
Have a good week.
Hey, everybody.
Bye, friends.
See you.
Bye.